Hello and welcome to the fourth grade channel of Sun Devil Learning Labs. I am Mrs. Khan and let's get started. All right, so today's topic is actually drama and prose. All right, before we get started, let's go over our objectives for today. So two objectives today, and those are I can identify whether a text is a drama or a prose, and I can compare and contrast the elements of a drama and prose. Right, we're going to be able to do those two things by the end of this lesson. So let's think about prose, right? I know the last lesson you guys talked about it a little bit, but just as a reminder, right? Prose is ordinary language, right? It's written in sentences and paragraphs, and it might include dialogue, right? Most of the literature, most of the books and stories that we read is written in prose. So the things that you're familiar with are prose, right? So when we think about prose, the elements that we're going to be looking for are sentences, paragraphs, dialogue, and when you get into a larger text, chapters. All right, so a sentence, I know you probably know these definitions, but we're going to go over them. Right, sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. Right, a sentence begins with a capital letter, ends with a period, question mark, or exclamation point. You know those things, right? A paragraph is sentences that are grouped together, right? And a paragraph is indented, all right? Dialogue tells the speaker's exact words. All right, so if you read a book, it'll say something like, very good, Sean, that would be in quotations, said Mom, right? It's telling you what someone said and who that person is, right? And dialogue is also indented. The speaker's words are placed in quotation marks, just like I said, and a dialogue tag tells who said it, just like I said, right? And other text may be placed in a paragraph with dialogue, right? And the last part, a chapter is how a novel is divided, right? It's divided into chunks, and those chunks are chapters. So let's keep going. All right, so we're going to look at this small story. It's called The Grasshopper and the Ants, and it's an Aesop fable, right? Look for the elements of prose that we just talked about, right? So I'll read it. A grasshopper spent his summer making music. Every day he watched the ants marching past him in a line as they carried seeds and grain to store in their anthill. As the grasshopper watched them pass by, he would laugh at them and say, "How foolish to work so hard in the hot sun. Summer is the time to play. There's plenty of time to worry about the winter when the weather starts to get chilly." Soon the days grew short and the first snow fell. The grasshopper was hungry but couldn't find anything to eat. Starving and cold, he went to see the ants and asked them for help. "Please, can you possibly spare a little something for me to eat?" he begged. The ants were unmoved and said, "We worked hard for our food and we have none to spare. All summer long you made nothing but music. Now all winter long you can dance." Right? If you want to read that again, push pause and read it again. That was prose. There's just a little bit of a review from the last lesson because it's something that, while it's a new word, it's something you're very familiar with because you've been reading for so long, right? All right, so moving on, drama is a different type of text format, all right? So a drama is a story told through the character's dialogue that's to be read by actors, right? A drama can also be called a play. And in its written form, a play includes a cast of characters, dialogue, and stage directions. And drama may be organized in scenes and acts, all right? There are plenty of books that are drama. But if you think about it, it does say drama can also be called a play. Every play, and if you think a little bit further, a movie and a TV show are pretty much a play that's been recorded. So a TV show and a movie, right? The way it was read by the actors who play the characters, what they had to read was a drama. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, hit pause, copy these down. Whatever you need to do, remember them, right? Because these are important. So within drama, there are structural elements, just like there were to prose, right? Prose, we are very familiar with sentences, paragraphs, dialogue, right? With drama, there's a little bit more because it has to be interpreted, all right? So let's go over these, right? Setting is a crucial element, right? It is the time, place, or era of a play, right? So if you think about your favorite movie, right, you have to know before anyone, recorded or says their lines, they have to know what time and place they're in, right? Because if you think of, let's say I like Captain America, all right? If we think about when Captain America started, right? If we didn't put in the time and place, we would have no idea really what's going on and what fits because it's up in the air, right? It could be today, it could be 200 years ago, right? There wasn't anything established without the setting, right? Next piece are characters. That's just a list of people or creatures that are in a play, right? And when you are reading your drama, the character's name is usually in all caps. All right. The next piece is dialogue. Dialogue is the lines of the play that the characters speak, right? And it follows the colon. So it'll be just like this. It'll be the character's name in all caps, colon, and then the dialogue of what they say, all right? The next piece is stage directions, all right? Because if you just have, all right, here's my name, here's what I have to say, and there's no other instructions, think about a book, right? You can say, Joe exclaimed, or Joe mumbled, or Joe whispered, right? Those would be part of your stage directions. So the stage directions tell the actors what to do, right? Maybe they walk across the street, right? How to say something and where to go, right? And those are italicized, so it'll have that little bit of a slant to it, and they're in parentheses, right? The next two pieces are kind of like chapters in a book, okay? So you have an act. An act is a section of a play that includes different scenes, right? And a scene is all of the actions that take place in a setting, right? So if you think about a movie, everything that happens in, say, pretend we're in a movie right now, everything that happens in this room is a scene. Say I take the camera and walk into the next room. That will be a new scene, all right? Because it's a new action in a new setting, right? And you put those things together, you break it up into acts, all right? You will definitely go over structure of drama all in fourth grade and even further, all right? You won't have to know all of the really teeny tiny details, right? But you will have to understand how they fit together so that when you're reading, you're able to interpret things and imagine how they're supposed to go together, right? So let's keep going. Some other elements of drama, not as big, but they are still important, right? So, like in prose, there's a plot, right? It's the sequence of events in the story, and in this case, it's in a play or drama, right? There's a theme, much like in prose, right? Which is the message of the play or the drama. There is also a narrator, right? The narrator gives the audience information about what is happening in a play, right? When you're reading a prose, right? It could be your favorite book, right? You don't have to hear a narrator because all of the information would be in the text, right? And thinking about reading this whole text that is a drama or play, right? You would be actually reading a script, right? That is the entire text of the play that includes the dialogue and the stage directions. All right. The example I'm going to show you is what you would read as an actor, and that would be your script, right? And then the last two things that you would need to perform a drama, right? Props, which are objects that are needed for the play, and sets, which are the scenery or the props or the furniture, everything put together, right? All right, so we are going to look at this text. If you want to push pause and read it, you can, all right? We are just going to look at where the elements are present, right? We went over the different elements. Not all of them are in here, but we are going to identify which ones are, all right? So if you want to read it, push pause now. All right, so let's continue. All right, so our elements, one of them was setting. I don't see a specific setting here, right? But you can imagine that it's outside, right? And if it's ants and grasshoppers, it's probably going to be outside, maybe in the dirt. We don't know. Our second one, all right, our second element was characters, right? And the easiest place to find it is here. It lists the characters that are going to be in the text, all right? The next piece is dialogue, right? Remember what we said, dialogue comes after the colon, right? So looking at this entire thing, there are several examples of dialogue. I'm just going to point to one. Right here is dialogue. It says, "This is very hard work." And that was said by Ant 3, right? And the last thing present on this page, out of all the elements, is stage directions. And there are several on the page, but let me point to one right here. Ants start working again, right? It's just a direction. No one says it. It's just a, all right, you guys got to keep going. All right. So if you want to try it again, here's the second page. If you want to read this one, go ahead and push pause. All right, so we are going to only find those three elements again, right? Because those are what's present. So the first one was characters, right? Right? There isn't a list of characters on this page, but remember what we said. Characters are before the colon. Usually they're in all caps. They aren't in this one, but you're able to see so many of them. I'm going to point to one right here. So it's the name of the character followed by a colon. And then the next thing that's present, again, that was same on the first page, is dialogue. And dialogue comes after the colon. An example is here, right? I'm cold and hungry. And the third element that is present in this one is stage directions. There are several examples on this page. I'll just point to one. Here, grasshopper mimes pushing, pulling, carrying, and digging with all the ants. All right? If you want to go back and find some more examples, go ahead and do that. Let's keep going. All right, so thinking about drama and prose, right? What's the same and what's different, right? We're gonna think about our second objective, right? What do they have in common and what's different, all right? So for drama is meant to be performed, right? It's a play. It is also intended to be interpreted and not just read, right? Because if we went back to the grasshopper and the ants, the drama version, we wouldn't be able to, as one person, read the whole thing out loud because it's meant to be played by, I think it was about 10 people, right? And the elements of drama, just some basic things, right? There are characters, there's a plot, a theme, dialogue, and stage directions. And thinking about prose is usually like a short story or a novel. It's what we're used to reading, right? And the elements involved are characters, plot, theme, and dialogue. And if you notice, these are the same, right? So if you look at this, comparing, right? Compare means what is the same or similar. That's what we're thinking of. That is what's in orange. And when we're contrasting, what's different is what's in white, right? So if someone asked you, what's the difference between drama and prose? You could say something like, drama is meant to be performed and prose is just something that you can read, right? It's normal. It's the normal thing that we read, right? Now that we've gone over those, I want you to take a look at this drama text that I have for you, all right? And I want you to identify the different elements that are present, right? Because it's not an entire script or an entire book, right? Not everything's going to be there. But I do want you to try to identify at least one example of each element, all right? There are 2 pages. Pause on each page and decide whether or not an element is there. And if it is, find an example, all right? This is an adaptation from Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt, titled The Stranger. Right? Push pause on this page, find an example of each element. Remember, they're not all going to be there. All right, here's the second page. Push pause and look for them. All right, so you're back, right? All right, so let's look at this together. Hopefully you have your examples identified off of our list of elements that maybe you copied down, right? I am going to think about which ones were on there. So the first one for me is setting. Is setting present in this example? Yes, I see it right here. The setting is breakfast time at the Tuck's house in the late 1800s. Right? It says it's the setting. That's perfectly fine. All right. The second one, characters. Pretty obvious here. It says cast of characters right here, right? There are 6 in this short example. All right, next is dialogue. Remember, dialogue comes after a colon. And there are, I see 5 examples on here. Just pointing at one right there. It says, never mind, you're likely out of practice. Tomorrow, maybe. Right? That's dialogue. It's what a character is supposed to say. All right? And the next one would be stage directions. Remember, stage directions are going to be in parentheses and italicized, so they're going to be slanted. Right? And I see a few examples. Just pointing at one is here. Right? The entire 7th line says, Jesse comes down from the loft, yawning and rubbing his curly hair. May is piling flapjacks on a plate. Right? Do you see an example of act or scene? Right? I don't see one. And that's mostly because this example, the first and second page, are only 16 lines, right? So let's look at the second page. Find some examples here, right? Is thinking about our list, going down the list, is setting present in this, on this page of the example. I personally don't see a specific setting. It was already established on the first page, right? So then the second one is characters, right? There were 2 ways to find characters in a drama, and that was the cast of characters, or the list of characters, and before a colon. Sometimes they're capitalized, right? And an example would be right here, Jesse. It's in all capital letters, followed by a colon. All right. Next thing on the list is dialogue. Dialogue, just like on the first page, follows a colon. Pretty easy. There's several examples on this page. One is right there. All right. And the next one is stage directions. There are several on this page. I will only point to one. That's right here. Right? They're in parentheses and they are italicized. And just like we said on the last page, there are no scenes or acts in this example. And that's because it's really short. All right? So, quiz time. All right? It's not super difficult, right? It's just, I want you to be able to identify the elements of drama, right? Not just say, oh yeah, that's an element. I want you to be able to know what it is, all right? Remember, I said these are the important ones, right? So, here we go. You're going to match the drama element on the left with the correct description on the right, all right? So here are the elements. You have setting, characters, dialogue, stage directions, act, and scene, all right? You're going to match it up with one of the descriptions on the right, right? Setting is going to correspond to a description on the right, all right? Your descriptions are: a section of a play includes different scenes, lines of a play the characters speak, the actions that take place in a setting, people or creatures of a play, the time, place, or era of a play, tells actors what to do, how to say something, and where to go. All right, take a moment, hit pause, and match your element to the correct description. If you want to write them all out, that's fine. All right, hit pause now. All right, hopefully you have your answers. right? I am going to go through them. First one is setting. Settings description is the time, place, or era of a play, right? Characters, the description for characters is the people or creatures of a play. For dialogue, the element of dialogue, the description is the lines of a play the characters speak. All right. Stage directions has a description of, tells actors what to do, how to say something, and where to go. Act, remember, we just had the description or definition. We didn't have an example of it. An act is a section of a play that includes different scenes, right? And the last one is the only remaining answer. A scene is the actions that take place in a setting. All right? Hopefully you got those all right, right? So I want you to think about this, all right? So today we learned the elements of drama and what they are, right? We learned the similarities and differences between drama and prose. And if you think back to our compare and contrast, right? When we had drama versus prose, a theme, right, is present in prose and drama, right? So if you were to go back and read the prose version of The Grasshopper and the Ants, and then read through the drama version of it, you would be able to see that there's a theme in both, right? If you were to read a prose and a drama that weren't the same story, you would be able to find a theme in both, right? Maybe they're the same, maybe they're not. So I want you to think about your favorite book, all right? Think about what it looks like on the inside as you read it, all right? And then I want you to think about your favorite movie or TV show, all right? And try to imagine what the script or the drama text would look like for your favorite movie or TV show, right? If you want to look at our version of a drama, do that, all right? But just try to think about how much isn't written that you actually see and experience and understand in a performance, all right? Think about what's written and what is resulted in the performance, right? So thank you for being here with me today. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.